everyone, and welcome to the third and final part of my Versus Battle trilogy. This time I'm talking about Death Battle, which shows fictional characters. Now, this is not evaluating who would win. Most Death Battle things are that respond to them are talking about who would actually win. But I'm not talking about that. For this, I'm going to assume that Death Battle got it 100% right, even in the times when they admitted they got it wrong themselves. No, what I'm evaluating is how good their reasons are for the characters fighting, and whether or not the fight would end in death as they depicted it. So, I have a few categories here. First, they just show up and fight. This is where even Death Battle itself isn't trying to come up with a reason for why they're fighting. The characters just show up and fight each other until one of them dies, and if they're not going to try to justify it, I'm not going to either. Next up, they would not fight. It's where the characters in this fight, under the circumstances they depict, wouldn't fight each other at all. Now, the next tier is yes, they would fight under these circumstances. And in case there's any ambiguity, I'm going to use a more likely than not metric. Because, I need to get to would they fight to the death if they would fight. So for my more likely than not metric, if I think there's, say, a 51% chance that they would fight, it would go here. Otherwise, it's they would not fight. Or now, I actually expect that this tier will be empty because it's basically just a transitional phase for these three. These three are, they would fight but neither of them would die. They would fight but one of them might die, as in the fight might end in death, or it might not. And the top tier is one of them would die. Like, this fight absolutely would end in death as Death Battle depicted. So first off, Samus Aran versus Boba Fett is a they just show up and fight. Note as well that this tier list isn't about could you come up with a reason why these characters would fight to the death. This is about would they fight to the death as Death Battle depicts it. So next up, Akuma versus Shang Tsung. So this is another they just show up and fight. You can look at the Death Battle wiki right here. Just going down to the fight. Yeah, Akuma walks into frame, Shang Tsung comes in, and then they just fight. So yeah, that's another they just show up and fight. Next, Rogue versus Wonder Woman. So, I suspect this will be another show up and fight, but let's check. Oh, yeah, Wonder Woman just comes up and kicks Rogue for no reason. So yeah, this is another they just show up and fight one. So I'll just put it, wait second. Okay, Akuma versus Shang Tsung. And I'm going to do this for every episode of Death Battle, by the way. I'm going to be, or at least every episode they have so far. They expect it to take more time between them as things go on. But anyway, after Rogue versus Wonder Woman, it's Goomba versus Koopa. And, look, I'm going to double check the battle to make sure that's the Death Battle itself. Yeah, they just show up and fight. They're not trying to justify them fighting, so I'm not going to either. Yeah. Now, Hagar versus Zangief. I remember this one very well, and it is another they just show up and fight. No. Okay, so, next fight, Teenage Green Age Ninjas Battle Royale. This is another they just show up and fight. Now next up, Zitz versus Leonardo. Now, let's see, double check. Yeah, no, they just show up and fight. A lot of the earlier episodes are probably going to be in this category, so going back here, do they just show up and fight? Oh, and in case you're wondering why I didn't do this ahead of time, I tried doing stuff like this ahead of time before, and since I don't want to make an account, the work is not saved. So yeah. Anyway, Yoshi versus Riptor. Or, this is another they just show up and fight. Actually, where is it? Let's see, Yoshi is dancing and Riptor. Okay, yeah, no, this is, they just show up and fight. Next up, Felicia versus Takoka. And once again, let's see. oh no, wait. Oh, they bump into each other and get agitated. Now, I don't know much about the characters, but I'm pretty sure that this is a they would not fight because of the more likely than not threshold. I think it's more likely since Thales is intelligent that she'd probably just apologize and Takoko would be fine with it. So I think that that's a more likely than not would not fight. Now, Kratos versus Spawn. Yeah, this is they just show up and fight one. I don't know, honestly, I was kind of expecting a different fight from season 1 to be the they would not fight one. But no, it's Felicia versus Takoga. Now, Bomberman versus Dig Dug. This is another they just show up and fight. So, yeah, I'll edit out most of the little stuff. But anyway, Vegeta versus Shadow. Now, I give this actual credit here. This is the first fight where the characters actually talk before the fight. And as such, they actually give a reason, sort of more of a well thought out reason than just bumping into each other as to why they fight. Basically, Ego, Vegeta insults Shadow. Okay, so you know what? I'll just go ahead and do the actual dialogue. So, Shadow senses Vegeta's power. He insults him for calling, their life form, saying he's short. Then same thing. And quite frankly, Vegeta at the end of Dragon Ball Z, I think he would fight Shadow, but neither of them would die. Like, they said Vegeta would win, and once again, I'm assuming that the result that they give is accurate for these fights, for this tier list. And I think that Vegeta would definitely spare him. He wouldn't try to kill him over an insult. Now, Mario versus Sonic 1. So, yeah, they're doing this to end, they're basically, so this might seem like they just show up and fight, but according to the wiki, they're promising to end their rivalry once and for all. So, I'm putting this in this one, because quite frankly, Mario and Sonic would not kill each other. Like, even, I could see them showing up, especially Sonic, since he's really competitive, showing up to end their rivalry once and for all. But, well, they'll, obviously, probably not once and for all, because Sonic would want to fight him again, but they would I could see them challenging each other for this. But it wouldn't end in death. Neither of them would go as far as to kill the other over something like this. Next up, Justin Bieber versus Rebecca Black. I don't care what justification you're giving, they would not fight. Next up, Luke Skywalker versus Harold Trotter. Now, the actual death battle, let's see. Oh, yeah, this is another, they just show up and fight. So, anyway, Chun-Li versus Mai Shiranui. Now, let's see this one. Okay, let's see it. Oh no, they just show up and fight. And if this was, now they don't give this context of them showing up and fighting. So once again, this is just with what's in Death Battle, so, oh, Starscream versus Rainbow Dash is the next one. Now, this one, I remember them giving them more characterization than they usually did, at least in terms of dialogue at this point, so... Oh, yeah, but apparently Rainbow Dash challenged Starscream to fight. And so, honestly, yeah, I'm pretty sure one of them would die. I doubt Starscream would spare anyone who challenged him unless they begged for mercy, and... Well, they said Rainbow Dash would win, and... Quite frankly, I think that, yes, you probably destroy Starscream, especially... Then again, maybe... I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. Do My Little Ponies kill people all that often? I'm going to go with one of them might die. Because here's the thing. I could potentially see Rainbow Dash killing Starscream, but it's also possible Starscream would just run. So, yeah, Starscream would probably just run, or if he wouldn't run... If at the moment he was losing, Rainbow Dash might spare him, because that just tends to be more of a My Little Pony thing. I'm sure that, I do think that they have destroyed villains, but typically they prefer the mercy route. Now, Master Chief versus Doom Guy, this is another they just show up and fight. Eggman versus Wily. Or Willy. Yeah, I don't know, Willy. Okay, so, do they give any pre-battle dialogue for them? Let's see. Oh no, their armies just show up and fight. That being said, while this is a their armies just show up and fight, I actually kind of am going to rank it with one of these. Because, look, if Eggman and Dr. Wily were in the same world, they'd come to blows sooner or later. It's pretty much inevitable. But would one of them die from it? Maybe. Because it's entirely possible the other would just escape, since this is a single battle, not a full war. That being said, wars can be decided in a single battle, but by doing one of them might die because it's entirely possible that one of them would just escape. And while Metal Sonic did kill both of them, I actually more leaning towards Eggman being the one escaping because Metal Sonic never hurt Eggman in the games, though the Robotenza might have influenced him to do it. But the worst he did was lock him up for a while rather than ever actually killing him. Now, Peach versus Zelda. I think this is a best just show up and fight, but let's see this one to make sure. Yeah, it's a they just show up and fight. So I suspect that part was okay. Thor versus Raiden. Let's see. Death Battle. Did I remember? Yeah, this is a they just show up and fight. Though. Okay, so moving on to Link versus Cloud. Or rather, Link versus Cloud 1. Now, this one is, yeah, this is, I knew it, one, they just show up and fight. And once again, I'm only going with the justification they give in the individual episode, isn't in the individual fight itself. So, Batman versus Spider-Man, this is another they just show up and fight. Yeah, I did watch these episodes in preparation for this, but don't necessarily remember all of them well. Now, Pikachu versus Blanca, let's see. This is a, yeah, they just show up and fight. Like, I think, so, yeah, you know. Now, Goku versus Superman. So, this is a very important death battle for this list. Because here's the thing. All the Goku versus Superman death battles, if I remember right, are in continuity with each other. So, since they're in continuity with each other, if this, which is something that none of the other Death Battle rematches are in, but all the Goku vs. Superman happen in a timeline. So this means that if this one is they would not fight, as Death Battle depicts them, then all the others will show up in this category too. And the answer is they would not fight. Here's the thing. There are easy ways you could justify Goku and Superman fighting. The way they did it, is they had Goku attack Superman right after realizing he's an alien, which Goku wouldn't do. So yeah, no, they would not fight. In all likelihood, an encounter between them would be Goku asking Superman to spar with him, and Superman politely refusing. Then Goku saying, okay, and leaving. Now, He-Man versus Lion-O. So, I actually give them credit here. So, as they depicted the fight, I actually think that this is going to be the first one where one of them would die for sure. And I say that because it's as they depicted it. Basically, the fight starts because Lion-O thinks He-Man is abusing Cringer. And as a result of that, they end up in a fight. Now, I do think that fight between them could result in that. If it happened in actual continuity, it'd probably be one of the things where the heroes fight at first, then realize it's a misunderstanding and stop. Lots of crossovers have that sort of thing. But the real thing of one of them would die comes in, as in He-Man actually defeats Lion-O non-lethally. Then that magic orb thing comes out to fight as a sort of last resort thing. He-Man actually wasn't going to kill Lion-O, and he didn't know that destroying the magic orb would wipe out his entire race. So he killed him out of ignorance. So yeah, I actually think this is the first death battle we've seen where they would 100% die, one of them would. Now, Shao Kahn versus Bison. Okay, so this death battle, I'm going to... Okay, so basically Bison comes in, grabs one of Shao Kahn's minions, and destroys him, and then Shao Kahn comes in to fight. And quite frankly, yeah, I think this is absolutely would cause them to fight, and one of them would die. Like, as they depicted it, yeah, because, like, I doubt either of them are in the mood to spare an opponent, and especially one who challenges them like that. And Bison absolutely would challenge Shao Kahn at some point or other if they were in the same world. Say, or Shao Kahn. So yeah, I think this is another one where they would fight and one of them would die. Now, well, though, I mean, yeah, and especially since it's implied that Bison's an outworld, his chances of escaping are not high. Now, Ryu Hayabusa versus Strider. This isn't one I remember all that well, so let's see. Armed soldier is both Hayabusa and kill him. Then they fight each other. Okay, yeah, no. This is they just show up and fight. Because the two of them don't realize why they're there. Like, and it's not like they're the sort of ninjas that would kill anyone who sees them. So this is 100% they just show up and fight. Now, Ivy versus Orchid. So, let's see. Ivy, I don't remember this one well. Ivy jumps on a platform, but that word and tells her to get lost. Then Orchid attacks. Okay, yeah, no, this is a... They just show up and fight because we're not given a reason why Orchid would fight Ivy. So I'm going to count this as a they just show up and fight. Like we're not even given a challenge thing like with Bison and him. So now with Fox McCloud versus Bucky O'Hare, I think I remember this one. So double checking. Oh yeah, Bucky mistakes for one of his enemies. Then or is it? Sorry, they mistake one of them for an enemy. Yeah, it's killed and then they fight and. You know what? Honestly, I think, yeah, this is 100% something that would end in death. After, like, Slippy gets killed by Bucky O'Hare. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, yeah, Fox, I'm pretty sure he does kill people in the Nintendo game, so yeah, like, he blows up an airplane, so yeah, I agree. That's actually doing better than I expected. Now, Terminator versus RoboCop. Okay, yeah, this is another one where they would fight and it would end in death. Because in this case, the Terminator robs a place, and RoboCop comes in to arrest him. Terminator resists arrest, and it escalates to a point where RoboCop decides the only way forward is to kill him. And yeah, I think this is 100% what would happen. So, I agree with this. Luigi versus Tails. Okay, yeah, like, this is... okay, so Luigi jumps out of a pipe, Tails jumps down... Then, okay, Tails flies down a pipe and he's scowling. Luigi pops out, then jumps out. Yeah, no, this is a... They just show up and fight because they just encounter each other and challenge for no reason. It doesn't really make any sense, even if they do give slightly more of a reason. I mean, yeah, no, this is 100% they just show up and fight. The justification is nowhere near enough. Now, Vegeta versus Mewtwo, where the pair ends up... Let's see... Alright, Vegeta versus Mewtwo get ready to fight, and instead of attacking each other, they blow up Silvermania's headquarters, then decide to go drink a beer. This makes this the first death battle that does not end in death, and yes, I am counting it. So, and you know what? Since it didn't end in death, I'm just gonna put it in, or even them fighting each other, they just blow up someone else. I'm just gonna put it in, they would not fight. Easy. And Pokemon Battle Royale, yeah, no, there are no trainers compelling them to fight, and there isn't really any natural reason for them to fight since they're not in the wild fighting for territory or rare candies, so... I meant they just ate a bunch of rare candies to get to this level. They probably aren't hungry, so they have no reason to eat each other. So this is, like, just showing up a fight. Now, Fulgor versus Sector. Damn, like, I kind of expected it to be mostly the villain versus villain fights that, now we are only in, like, Season 2, so I kind of expected it to mostly be villain versus villain fights up here, while hero versus hero are down there, but there actually are mostly hero versus hero, villain versus villain fights up there, but if you look at it, there are quite a few hero versus hero fights that are up there. in the category where they would actually fight, so I'm somewhat impressed. Now, Fulgor versus Sector. Let's see, not one I remember that well. So let's see. Okay, Sector is in an Ultratech warehouse and crossing to Fulgor. Okay. Does Fulgor work for Ultratech? Let's see. Let's see. So yeah. Oh, yeah. No, he does. So yeah, he counters him as an infiltrator. And you know what? Yeah. So I do think this would be a one of them would die thing, because he encountered him as an infiltrator. Now I would say that Sector would probably escape. Or I would normally say that because he's like a ninja, but Sector kinda sucks. He's like, the Lin Kuei digitizing their ninjas was one of the worst decisions in Mortal Kombat history. Sector is consistently depicted as a low-tier fighter. Then again, maybe Sector was worse before they made him into a cyborg. Maybe it actually improved him and he just always sucked. Anyway, Godzilla versus Gamera. Okay, this is simple. They go to destroy, to like attack a city, and the thing, and Godzilla's attacking a city. Gamera comes in to stop them, and the thing is, Death Battle actually addresses the possibility of Gamera running away. Simply put, Godzilla doesn't let his opponents run. So yeah, I agree with this. One of them would probably die unless a third party, as it comes in. So, but third party's not mistaken. This is as Death Battle depicts it, not any potential things. Now, Captain America versus Batman. If I remember right, this is they just show up and fight, and yeah, it is. They just show up and fight. So that's Batman versus Captain America. Now, Tigerzord versus Gun. Oh, I remember this one. Okay, yeah, like this is, yeah, that basically the Power Rangers accidentally kill the girlfriend of the guy in the Gundam, and then he comes in to kill them. So, you know, yeah, 100%, this would end in death. And let me see something. Is this the first hero versus hero fight that would end in death? Let's see. No, that's He-Man versus Lion-O, and this is another one. So, yeah, God, actually doing a good job of justifying it. So, anyway, this is... Yeah, Scorpion just attacks Ryu, which... Let's see, does he any reason? Yeah, no, they don't give a reason, so... I'm just going to count it as they just show up and fight. Now, so I do think this would be I do think that's actually very easy to justify. Oh, Deadpool versus Deathstroke. This is 100% a fight that would end in death. Because, like, I don't think either of them would spare the other or let the other run. And the way they depict it is they both notice each other's bounties, and Deadpool notices that Deathstroke's is a bit bigger than his. So, frankly, yeah, I think if they were in that situation, Deathstroke would probably try to claim Deadpool's bounty. Now, Kirby versus Majin Buu. So, let's see how the battle starts. So, let's see. Buu starts turning things into cake, and then Kirby comes in and eats all the food. And honestly, I think Buu turning random residents in Dreamland would be reason enough for Kirby to come in and fight him. That being said, while Kirby is willing to kill villains, he is also the type who would try to redeem them if it's all possible. And Buu is redeemable. However, that's just Fat Buu, and Buu goes into his Kid Buu form in the fight. So frankly, yeah, I think Kirby would end up having to kill him. I'd say, yeah, that's another one that's fully justified them fighting to the death. Now, Ragna versus Soul Bad Guy. So, I don't know much about Ragna, so let's see. Okay, BlazBlue's Kagetsuki at nighttime. Soul's looking for a wanted poster. Ragna walks past him and then stops him. And then, interesting. Soul fights, it's basically over a wanted poster. But then Soul doesn't fight him over it. He says you're an eyesore. Then Ragna tells him to get out of the way or you're dead. Soul uses his flame gun. Okay, yeah, no, I have no fucking idea why they're fighting. Honestly, like, like the dialogue, like the wanted poster thing might have been enough to justify them fighting. Might have, but I'm not sure if Soul would go out of his way to do it just for a bounty, especially since he has his own issues with authority in some ways. So I'm just gonna put it at a they would not fight, because Soul just not fight because I have no fucking idea why they're trying, why Soul approached him if he just to tell him he's an eyesore and then attack him. So no, that I'm gonna put it that they would not fight because I have no idea where else to put that. All right, Gara versus Toph. So I remember this one. Gara says Toph's on sacred ground and she should leave, and quite frankly, I think Toph would leave. Like, she might be a bit rude about it, or she might try to convince Gara to let her stay, but she wouldn't get in a fight to the death with him over it. And I say that, like, she wouldn't, and this is in part because, well, Toph's friend with the Avatar, she would at least have some respect for sacred ground despite her attitude, and also she knows full well about various things like spirits and other such, so no. Now, for Samus versus, let's see, they won fire. Okay, it starts off with them fighting in the middle of space. So, since they're fighting, let's see. Okay, yeah, like they're already fighting, so this is, I'm just going to count this as they show up and fight. Much like their first fight. Chuck Norris versus Sagata Sanjuro. Okay, so for this one, okay, so basically Chuck Norris refuses to buy Sega products, so Sagata Sanjuro fights him. And I'm gonna put it in, they would fight, but neither of them would die. I mean, potentially, based on what I've seen the ads, they probably would fight, but I doubt it would be to the death. So, yeah. Now, Guts versus Nightmare. So, I actually think this would be another fight where one of them dies. Guts comes in, tells Nightmare he's in his way, and if Nightmare stepped aside, Guts would probably have just left, but Nightmare doesn't, so fight. And yeah, I don't think either of them would really spare an opponent unless one of them ran. Like, if not, I don't think Nightmare's going to flee, though. Guts might, but he's alone there, so he can go all in into the Berserker armor without necessarily much worry. Now, Iron Man versus Lex Luthor. So basically, Lex Luthor is robbing a warehouse that's actually owned by Pepper Potts, and Iron Man comes in to stop him. So this is definitely, they would fight. But would one of them die? I'm going to say one of them might die. Because here's the thing. Marvel heroes are less against killing than DC heroes are. That being said, they're still against killing, generally speaking. Like, they try to avoid it if they can. So I'm going to rank this as one of them might die because it's entirely possible that Iron Man would spare him. Now, this fight between Beast and Goliath, let's see, I think this is, this is 100%, they just show up and fight. No reason for it, so yeah. Now, next up, Solid Snake versus Sam Fisher. Quite frankly, I think this is 100% one of them might die. They give actual full justification of why they're fighting, that they're both after the same piece of intelligence. And the only reason why I'm putting it in one of them might rather than one of them would die is because I think it's entirely possible for one of them to escape before the other is able to kill them. Though once again, this is one of the things where I'm leaning towards one of them dying. Like I'm leaning definitely 100% leaning towards one of them dying, but there's still some ambiguity. One of them might live. All right, now this one, on the other hand, this is 100% they would die. One of them would die, and the reason isn't actually anything in the fight itself, but rather after it, since Doom is shown at the end of it ruling over a bunch of stormtroopers, which implies that he'd attack the Empire to try to take it over. And yeah, he would 100% have to kill Vader to do that. So I agree with their reasoning. Now, Goku versus Superman 2. Okay, so Goku versus Superman 2 is in the same category of Goku versus Superman 1 because they're in continuity. They would not fight. Now moving on, it's Donkey Kong versus Knuckles. Uh, and if I remember right, this is okay, let's see. He starts eating a banana and then says Donkey Kong's angry face, but finishes it. You know what? Yeah, that actually is good enough reason for them to fight. But is it good enough reason for them to fight to the death? Uh, Not really. I kind of think that Knuckles would probably apologize after a short fight, or that one of them would spare the other. Like, I don't think they go as far as killing each other over it. It's entirely so. Yeah, like I mean, guys have stolen from Donkey Kong before and lived. So now Wolverine versus Raiden. So going into the death battle. Let's see, Tropical City. Okay, Raiden tells Wolverine to get out of his way. So they're both fighting monsters. Wolverine shows up. Let's see, they're both cutting it, and then Wolverine tells, okay, yeah, no, Ryan to get out of the way, and then Wolverine says that he's next. Okay, I don't think they would fight here because they're both fighting the giant robots. Ryan would, well, if Ryan saw someone else destroy a robot, he'd probably say, who the hell are you? But he wouldn't say get out of the way. He'd probably say, are you after them too? Or whoever he's going after. Like, I'm pretty sure that if they were fighting the same guys, that they wouldn't attack each other. Now, Hercule Satan versus Dan Hibiki. And I was kind of expecting very few hero versus hero battles to be there, but this is another one that, as Death Battle depicts it, would basically have them fight and have it end in death because of two things. One, this is a tournament that they're both in, so yeah, they fight, and it would end in death because the death is accidental. Hercule doesn't attempt to kill Dan Hibiki here, it basically happens by accident. So yeah, this would end in death the way they depicted it. So yeah, now, Tifa versus Yang, they would not fight. To put it simply, Yang basically breaks into Tifa's bar and orders a drink, and I think Tifa would probably just order her to leave, and she would. So yeah. Now, Mega Man versus Astro Boy. So in this actual fight, let's see, it's basically implied, if I remember right, by the end of it. Like, let's see, Astro Boy finds Itchy's Mega Man still functioning head. Yeah, no, like, to rush. Yeah, it's kind of implied that Mega Man isn't his self by the fact that, by this whole thing, and Astro Boy is going to be brought back. So, quite frankly, that Mega Man is going to be brought back, so, yeah, I think this is another hero versus hero fight where the ending kind of implies that Mega Man wasn't in his right mind. You don't know why, but you know what? That's good enough for me. Now, Green Arrow versus Hawkeye. So, this isn't. So, let's see. I'm pretty sure this is another that you just show up and fight from my memory, so just double checking. Yeah, no, this is another they just show up and fight. So, moving on from this, we get to Pokemon versus Digimon. And, okay, so, yeah, Red does mistake him for a trainer, but let's see. Yeah, I remember this one, but double checking. You got some, okay, yeah, they start fighting, and then, let's see. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Tai would try to talk him down, so this would be they might fight, but is it the more likely than not? If Red showed up and mistook him for a trainer, yeah, I think it is more likely than not that they would fight. But I don't think either of them would die, especially since Pokemon battles are non-lethal. And I don't think that Agumon or like Tai would challenge someone to like fight someone to the absolute death who just randomly challenged them. Now, the final episode of Season 3, Dante versus Bayonetta. So, let's see. The fight as they depict it, Dante is coming in looking for a certain item. Looking for Bayonetta, the thing called the left eye, which is just Bayonetta, and Bayonetta said this would make you an angel or a demon. And quite frankly, they would not fight. Because Bayonetta doesn't know why Dante is looking for the left eye. And the way Dante sees it is, says it, indicates that he doesn't know what it is exactly. He probably thinks it's an object rather than a person. So quite frankly, I think Bayonetta would try to figure out why Dante is looking for it. Because for all she knows, he could be asking for her help. Now, Bowser versus Ganon. We're into Season 4. We're going to be at this for a while. Okay. So, Bowser versus Ganon. The spirit of your face. Yeah, it's implied that Ganon basically is invading Bowser's castle. Yeah, Bowser's sitting there, then Ganon attacks. And you know what? I kind of think this would possibly end in death. Now, I'm going to put it in one of them might die. Because, like, it's entirely possible. Well, no, I'm going with what Death Battle said would win. They said Ganon would win. And yeah, no, I think 100% one of them would die there. Like, Ganon isn't the sort to run away from fights from what I remember from Zelda, so yeah. Now, Ratchet and Clank versus Jak and Daxter. So, how does it start? Let's see. Oh, they crash into it and into their hometown, into their home, and then after promising to fix it and causing a weasel, they fight to the death. So, yeah, if Daxter has an issue with a weasel, I mean, I could potentially see him fighting, but quite frankly, I don't think it's. Okay, I'm going by more likely than not. If fight since he start because one party crashed into the other's house, I'm going to go with more likely than not of they would not fight. Because I'm pretty sure that that two of them would just end up fixing the house. More likely than not, and I'm not sure if the insult would have it there. Now, Flash versus Quicksilver. Okay, yeah, this is another one that one of them would die. Because here's the thing. They would fight in this case because it's basically them having a bit of an ego off and then having a race as a result of it, which I think is in character for both of them. And then one of them ends up dying essentially by accident, like another accidental death. So, there. Now, Joker versus Sweet Tooth. Oh, and also we find out later on that it was the Reverse Flash who was behind the death there. So, yeah, I mean, kind of. Yeah, no, I think 100% there. Yeah, I think of it. Yeah, no, those Bowser and County would eat each other too, but not in terms of why they're fighting. Anyway, Joker versus Sweet Tooth. Joker steals Sweet Tooth's ice cream cone, and come on, yeah, this would 100% end with one of them dying. They're both psychotic and insane enough that I'm pretty sure any fight between them would be to the death unless the Joker escapes. And there isn't really a need for him to escape here, so I'm going to go by more likely than not here and say that, yeah, Joker would probably kill him. Now, Mewtwo versus Shadow. I kind of remember the spoon from it, but nothing else, so let's see. Shadow goes in there and then Mewtwo tells him to leave. Shadow says, what problem? Charizard's not aim, but it's red, black, and very annoying. Yeah, no, I don't think, honestly, quite frankly, I think Shadow would most likely just leave after being told politely to leave, rather even that way, or rather even impolitely. Like, they don't really give him, let's see, he just sees a cave and enters it, and then sees it, oh, he's looking for the Chaos Emerald. Okay. And then, okay, you know what? Okay, I think they might fight, but I don't think either of them would really kill the other. Especially since at the end of the battle, there's no need for Mewtwo to kill Shadow since he took away his memories. So, yeah, I think they would fight, but neither of them would die. And Meta versus Carolina. Okay, this is basically, Meta is implied to go over there to basically try to get the other AI. So, yeah, I think they would fight, but that being said, the Meta has escaped from previous fights he lost, and it's entirely possible that Carolina and, was it Epsilon, or whichever one it was, would just run. So I'm going to put it in, one of them might die because it's possible for them to escape. But I do think it's entirely possible that one of them dies. So, yeah. Now, anyway, Screw Attack Steam sale versus your wallet. Well, I've never participated in a Steam sale, so I let's see. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that actually I don't have any of the games that's listed in it. Let's see. Yeah, no, I don't have any of those games, so that means my wallet won and the Steam sale was dead. Cammy versus Sonya. Yeah, no, Sonya is very out of character. Like, so very out of character there. So I'm going to put it in they would not fight as they depict it because, like, basically Sonya comes out of custody, then says organization to work for, and yeah, no, like they would not fight under these circumstances. Tracer versus Scout. Honestly, quite frankly, I think they wouldn't fight, but they wouldn't fight because Scout was going to let Tracer go. Like, I remember the start of that fight, and at that point, Scout was going to let Tracer go, so... And Tracer was the one who turned around and instigated, so I think she'd just leave with the intelligence. Now, Ken versus Terry. Don't remember this one that well, but let's see, how does it start? Okay, he comes in to challenge him in the dojo, and let's see. Oh yeah, and then they just keep fighting until one of them's dead. So this is a situation where they would fight, but neither of them would die, since, like, this is a normal dojo challenge, it wouldn't be lethal. So yeah, I'm honestly surprised at how many hero versus hero fights are showing up in the upper three. Now, Amy Rose versus Ramona Flowers. How does it start again? I don't remember. Let's see. Ramona keeps the room, actually knocking Scott and Ramona off the stage. Amy goes to the entrance. Yeah. They're trying to. Yeah, no, I don't think a fight would start over this, since this really has nothing to do with Amy or Ramona. So this isn't a they just show up and fight. It is, however, a they would not fight. Now, Hulk versus Doomsday. Yeah, no, this is as they depict it, it would end with one of them dying. So yeah, like Doomsday attacks the city, Hulk comes in to stop him, and Doomsday kills him. Yeah, so Zorro versus Urza. So Zorro versus Urza, it starts with Zorro getting lost and Urza recognize. Let's see. Oh yeah, and Urza recognizing him on a bounty poster. And quite frankly, I think that, yeah, under these circumstances, they probably would fight and one of them might die, but it's no sure thing because, like, both of them are very durable. It's entirely possible that one of them just lets the other live or just spares the other. Like, that's all just spares her or she survives with injuries. So I'm going to put it there because, like, now Deadpool versus Pinkie Pie. Neither of them die. So, and actually they barely even fight. So, yeah, they barely, actually, they do. Okay, okay, the actual battle. Let's see, Deadpool knows he's on death battle, and then the song. Oh yeah, no, they would fight, but neither of them would die, and neither of them did die. So yeah, like, this is accurate in a way, despite not ending in death. Now, Lara Nathan versus Croft Drake. Let's see, how does it start? Well, you remember that ended with essentially, let's see, going there, gotcha, then, okay. Let's start pistoling, okay, then fine. Oh yeah, they're both after the same artifact. And let's see it. Helicopter explodes. Yeah, no, this is an accident. Lara Croft doesn't kill him. He just basically happens to die as an. Yeah, no, I think that this would end in death because, simply put, it's like an. Basically, I think you put it in the sort of accidental category, though they both have the same artifact, so yeah, I could kind of see it. Now, Scrooge McDuck versus Shovel Knight. Though, once again, I'm not as familiar with Uncharted and the Lara Croft games, Tomb Raider, as other ones. So maybe someone would disagree with me and be correct. I don't know. Anyway, in this one, Shovel Knight basically breaks into Scrooge's place, gets stuff and starts stealing his stuff, which he wouldn't do, so I'll just put in they would not fight. Like, he really only tends to do that with people where they're already fighting or evil, so no. Now, Venom versus Bane. If I remember right, so Venom is more characterized as being like Carnage in this thing. That being said, let's see. Let's see, it's the bat. No, okay. Random warehouse of weaponry. Bane also doing something. Yeah, Bane is basically stealing some stuff that Venom has. Quite frankly, I think this is one where they would fight, and one of them might die just from the sheer difference in force, but I don't think they go out of their way to kill each other. Like, especially since Venom is not Carnage. So one of them might die, but it's also likely that Venom would just beat up Bane and leave him injured. Now, Power Rangers versus Voltron. Okay, I don't remember this one well. Let's see. Prehistoric activity. Don't see a die. Okay. Yeah, no, this is... Okay, despite all the dialogue that happens, this is 100%. They just show up and fight. Like, because while they do have dialogue, they don't give a reason for them to fight. So yeah, they just show up and fight. Natsu versus Ace. Okay, so I remember this one, but I want to double check, so let's see. Hey, you thief, Natsu. Okay, Ace steals from a restaurant, and Natsu tries to stop him, and then they end up fighting. So yeah, I think this is one where they would fight, but I don't think either of them would die. Because, like, come on, it's over a fucking chicken leg. This is like Deadliest Warrior with Sun Tzu trying to kill Vlad Tepes over a prank. Yeah, they would probably fight over this, but neither of them would die. Now, Sub-Zero versus Glacius. Alright, Death Battle, let's see. It's new to me. Okay, let's see. Energy crowds attempt more spark, moving, pole energy spikes, revealing Glacius. Gives up a warlike shriek. Okay, so Glacius attacks Sub-Zero for showing up. As Sub-Zero doesn't seem to have been that hostile, but let's see. Space Cops. Let's see. Glacius, these women always known for his evading capabilities. Okay, yeah, quite frankly, I don't think they fight from the backstory Death Battle is giving Glacius. Like, yeah, so I'm going to put it in they would not fight, especially since Sub-Zero didn't seem hostile. Now, Android 18 versus Captain Marvel. Okay, they're fighting over a Dragon Ball. And considering what Captain Marvel was like, aka a massive ass, yeah, they would fight over it. But I don't think either of them would die. Like, in all likelihood, like, I mean, Android 18 didn't kill Vegeta, despite Vegeta making it very clear he was trying to kill her, so I doubt she would kill some random person. Yeah. Now, here we get Metal Sonic versus Zero. Now, let's see, if I remember right, Metal Sonic is destroying a city and Zero comes in to stop him, and I'm pretty sure Zero has killed robots before, so let's see. Let's see, Maverick. Oh. Okay. Yeah, no, this is 100% one that would probably end in death. So, yeah. Agreed. So, yeah, Yeah, like, they actually did, yeah, like, a pretty good job of justifying this one, but this is also a hero versus villain, which is pretty easy. Now, Lucario versus Renamon. Let's see. Renamon tells Lucario to leave or I'll make you, and Lucario fights to the death. Yeah, no, there are multiple Lucario in Pokemon, so I'm pretty sure if Renamon asked him to leave, unless it was already his territory, they wouldn't fight. So I'm going to go by more likely than not, and I'm going to say they would not fight. Because, like, it's possible they would, but I don't think it's 100% likely. Balrog versus TJ Combo. Okay, yeah, this, as Death Battle depicts it, is a fight that would end in death, or maybe. Balrog has killed in the ring before, and TJ Combo basically has to, if I remember right. Let's see, Balrog double. Yeah, Balrog, it's like a slugger. Let's see, Balrog. Actually, you know what? I'll look it up. Street Fighter. Did Balrog kill in the ring? Let's see. Okay. Okay, yeah, he apparently did kill in the ring before. So, yeah, I'm going to put this in as, yeah, one of them would die because, like, as they depict it, Balrog breaks the rules, either knocks out or kills the ref, and then tries to kill TJ Combo, who kills him in self-defense. So yeah, I'm gonna say this is probably how it would happen. So yeah, or at least this is as they depicted it is how it could happen. Now let's see, Silver Samurai versus Shredder. Let's see, Silver Samurai slicing down trees when a bunch of ninjas attack him. Let's see. Okay, yeah, they don't give a reason why Shredder is going after Silver Samurai. So I'm going to go into they just show up and fight. Now, they didn't give a reason why Metal Sonic was destroying the city, but that isn't the reason why he's fighting his opponent. He's attacking other people. So, let's see. Okay, this is no, they would not fight. I know the excuse Death Battle gave them, and this is another they would not fight. Now, for Thor versus Wonder Woman, let's see if I remember right. Okay, no man can enter Themyscira unannounced. And then, yeah, okay, yeah, no. They would not fight like this is a slightly out of character for Thor, but no, this is like Wonder. Okay, it depends on the depiction of Wonder Woman. A lot of depictions of her don't necessarily have much of a problem with a man showing up on Themyscira even unannounced, and she'd probably assume it was an emergency or something like that. Or at the very least, wouldn't try to kill him over it, even if they said something mildly sexist, maybe fight but not kill. And Thor, in most of his depictions as Marvel, wouldn't say anything mildly sexist, so quite frankly, I'm going to rank this as they would not fight, because this is a bit out of character for both of them. Now, Naruto versus Ichigo. Let's see, I remember this one, but let's see. So, Ichigo mistakes Naruto for a hollow and starts attacking, or at least thinks it. But here's the Ichigo would not just attack Naruto like that for mistaking him for someone with a hollow. He'd probably try to figure out what spiritual ability he has first, especially since Ichigo finds out that people with hollow powers aren't necessarily evil, so that's another they would not fight. Now, in Spider-Man vs. Batman Beyond, let's see, if I remember right, it's implied that 2099 thinks Batman Beyond is a vampire, but let's double check the fight itself, or at least the ranking on the wiki to see. Let's see, what this Shocker, everybody's booting here with Shocker U, Jerusalem catch up to web swinging foe. There's whereby swings by and accidentally breaks the. Okay, yeah, no, they would not fight over this. Like, this is incredibly trivial. Just breaking something by accident he was booting over, no. Sephiroth versus Virgil. Let's see, why do they fight? I'm not that familiar with Sephiroth, I'm afraid. A little bit. Sephiroth senses his power and then decides to kill him. Okay, from what I can tell, Sephiroth, he doesn't just attack powerful people for no reason. He has motives and such, so that's funnily enough, another they would not fight. And in a villain versus villain one, too, which is kind of surprising. Since usually, though, then again, are there any other villain versus villains where they would not fight? Let's see, no, I think it's all hero versus hero, or hero versus villain in some cases, in the they would not fight category. So yeah, no, this is, they would not fight. Now let's see, okay, so Batman apparently challenged Black Panther. Or let's see, spots a vehicle zoo. Yeah, they show so, and that is enough of a reason for them to fight by my own standards. That being said, neither of them would die. There's no way Black Panther is killing Batman over just a challenge. Alright, Raven versus Twilight Sparkle. So, going into the battle itself, let's see. Okay, let's see. He sees him playing with dolls of Twilight Sparkle, and, quite frankly, I think that Raven would pretty quickly realize that Twilight Sparkle is the one that he's playing with dolls of, so even if there's a single beam, I think that this is another they would not fight in these circumstances, and even if they did, it definitely wouldn't be to the death. Okay, Jotaro versus Kenshiro. Now, ignoring the fact that they're from completely incompatible worlds, let's see. How does this start? Okay, let's see. Kenshiro shows up, staring them as menacing. Let's see, Dead Squirrel Desert. Okay, yeah, this is, funnily enough, despite the dialogue, this is another, they just show up and fight, because I am familiar with Fist of the North Star and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and Kenshiro doesn't just go around challenging random people. It's like, honestly, it's a bit of a weird standard I have where Kenshiro just deciding to kill some random people in the desert is they just show up and fight, but I'm counting Batman versus Black Panther as a predetermined challenge, but no, that gives my logic is this gives more reason for Black Panther and Batman to fight, whereas this doesn't really give much reason for the Kenshiro to like I don't know. Anyway, Crash versus Spyro. Yeah, Crash accidentally killed one of Spyro's friends. I think Spyro has killed before, so not 100% sure, but I think he has. So after killing one of his friends, yeah, no, he absolutely probably would kill him. Alright, so moving on from this, we have Sora versus Pit. And quite frankly, okay, so this is basically an arena challenge where they fight. So yeah, they're in an arena and they fight with Sora winning, and quite frankly, yeah, I think this would end in death for one specific reason. Dying isn't a big deal to Pit. He does it all the damn time and easily comes back from it. So yeah, I could see Pit getting into getting into an arena fight to the death for fun. It kinda like that just isn't a big deal to him. He comes back from it easily. Now, Leon Kennedy versus Frank West. So this is a bit of a weird one. Because, quite frankly, I could kind of see Frank starting the fight by doing this. But quite frankly, I don't think the fight would continue past Frank throwing a bottle at Leon. Frank would probably just run at that point, since he doesn't really have a reason to fight him. So, I'm going to count that as they would fight, but neither of them would die, because I suppose technically that is a thing. And quite frankly, I think a more likely result of the Leon versus Frank fight is that Leon subdues Frank, even in the conditions they give it. Now, Doctor Strange versus Dr. Fate. Okay, so, quite frankly, in the circumstances where they say that there are two Sorcerer Supremes and no one is then... Okay, I don't think that... the title Sorcerer Supreme is up for combat, but I don't think they'd kill each other even if they fought over it. Yeah, I'm gonna take that it says they would fight, but neither of them would die. I mean, so, I don't think... I don't think so. So, Ryu, especially since, well, the Sorcerer Supreme thing in Marvel, I don't think it would. Now, Ryu versus Jin. Okay, this is another fight where they basically start off as sparring, but then things get out of hand and out of control, and Jin ends up using his Devil Gene, which basically forces Ryu to use lethal force. So, in a way, with the escalation and how they handled it throughout the fight itself, I think, this would probably end in death as the way they depicted it. Not necessarily a normal fight, but they did the escalation well enough that I think it would. Now, Samurai Jack versus Afro Samurai. This is another they just show up and fight. Like, the only thing they say is your sword smells of blood, which, they just show up and fight. Carnage versus Lucy. Look, with what Carnage is like, I'm pretty sure Carnage would attack Lucy, and Lucy would attack him, and even if one of them tries to run, I don't think the other would let them get away. So this would end in death. Now, Optimus Prime versus Gundam. So, let's see. I don't remember this one that well. Why are they fighting? Let's see. Oh, this is another they just show up and fight. I'm kind of surprised at how many of these are showing up in later seasons. Even when they're trying to justify them more, it's more like just setting up the fight quite often. Anyway, Nightwing versus Daredevil. Okay, I barely remember this one. Okay, let's see. I did watch these as preparation for this, but it's also been a little bit since I watched them due to scheduling on my part. Let's see. A car, zigging boots. Okay, so I think in this situation where they're both fighting they both want the same thing, in this case the briefcase, they probably would fight, but let's be honest, neither of them's killing the other. Like, there are some Marvel heroes that are very averse to... Yeah, no, neither of them is doing it now over a briefcase like that. Now, Mario versus Sonic. They fight to the death over a chair on the beach. They would not fight. I find it enough that the first one actually has a better justification than this. Let's see, Ultron versus Sigma. Let's see, is there a justification in the battle? Okay, yeah, Ultron tries to take over, and let's see, Sigma. If I remember right, Sigma wins and kills him. So let's see. No, wait, Ultron wins and kills him. So yeah, Ultron coming in, taking over. Yeah, no, I think this is accurate. Okay, Roshi versus Jiraiya. Roshi insults a book Jiraiya wrote. Quite frankly, this would not even escalate into a fight. They would at most yell at each other. And it definitely wouldn't be to the death. Okay, yeah, no, Thanos versus Darkseid. Let's see, what... I'm pretty sure this is another one that would fight and would be to the death, so what... Let's see. Oh yeah, that Thanos shows up with the Infinity Gauntlet and then tries to take over Darkseid. Yeah, no, this is another one that they would fight and would end in death. I doubt either one would let the other live or run from this situation, so yeah. Aquaman versus Namor. Okay, Namor's a massive ass, but quite often, but that being said, I don't think he'd fight Aquaman over Aquaman splashing some water on him. Just no. Mega Man Battle Royale. Let's see. This is going to definitely be another they just show up and fight, right? Yeah, no. This is they show up and fight. You're not justifying it. I'm not going to bother evaluating. Let's see. Okay, Black Widow versus Widowmaker. Okay. The Widowmaker kills someone that Black Widow was protecting, and Black Widow goes in to kill her. And, let's see, Black Widow wins, right? Yep, does. So, the memory is correct there, and I remember how while you're rotting. So I'm going to put in one of them might die for a simple reason. It's possible Black Widow would try to take Widowmaker alive, and she was in a position to do that. But it's possible she would try to do it for interrogation. Or something else, so, yeah. I think that would be that. Now, Captain Marvel versus Shazam. Now, Captain Marvel has tried to kill children before, and she fails there against Shazam. So, yeah, I think that I would rank this as they would probably fight me with Captain Marvel being an ass. I don't think that she would. I don't think that she would listen to his explanation, and they would get in a fight. That being said, I don't think Shazam would kill her. They'd probably spare her. Now, Wario versus King Dedede. So, Death Battle shows the escalation, but of the fight. So, first off, they would fight because it's an arena battle, but is the escalation where they essentially do some minor theft and pranking of each other enough for them to kill each other? No. No, this isn't enough for it. Okay, yeah. No. These two would not fight. This is one of those situations where, unless there's mind control involved, those two would not fight. And though, that being said, Green Lantern, you're carrying a Class A galactic super weapon. I would just take this, trying to take it, but it's refusing. Okay, you know what? Yeah, I think that under these circumstances, they might... Okay, under these circumstances, they might fight, but there's no way it would end in death. Green Lantern, none of them are killing a child. So, yeah, I'm going to say they might fight. Okay, Wife versus Mitsuru. The fight starts off with them in the middle of a battle, so I'm going to do this as they just show up and fight. Now, Johnny Cage versus Captain Falcon. Okay, Johnny Cage is playing Captain Falcon in a movie. There's misunderstanding, and they would not fight, quite frankly. The Captain Falcon wouldn't be smart enough to know exactly what he means, so yeah. Now, Edward Elric versus Aang. Well, okay, so in the prelude to it, if I remember right, ends up accidentally calling him short, and then Aang says nobody. Frankly, yeah, I think this might be enough to calm down Edward, but going by more likely than not criteria, I'm going to say they would probably fight, but it would be very cartoonish, and Aang would probably just run. He wouldn't, the power difference between them is great enough that I don't think yeah, Aang would have to like go all out and kill him. It would definitely not end in death. Like he would probably just leave. So, damn it. Ghost Rider versus Lobo. Okay, they established in it that, let's see, if I remember right. Yeah, Ghost Rider goes there to do stuff for Lobo's sins. So yeah, 100% they would fight, and Ghost Rider would be in it to kill him. So yeah, I doubt that Lobo would necessarily let Ghost Rider live either if he won, but still. Okay, this shows up with this battle starts with, let's see. Yeah, with them already fighting, so I'm going to put it as they just show up and fight. So, damn, I hope we're at least halfway through. Well, we probably aren't. Sasuke versus Hiei. Okay. Let's see. Death battle. How does it start? Okay. Hiei ignores him and says it's none of your business. Turns back. Yeah, no, I don't think Hiei would escalate this into a fight so quickly. So I'll put it as they would not fight. Like that setup. No. Ganondorf versus Dracula. Okay, yeah, it's basically implied. If I remember right now, double check. Let's see. Yeah, Ganondorf. There's a Dorf. Yeah, apparently came in there due to some territorial dispute or some challenge. But in either case, you know, this 100% end with one of them killing the other. Now, Mob versus Tatsumaki. Okay, so yeah, Mob basically mistakes Tatsumaki for someone in the school. Yeah, for someone who's in middle school. So yeah, no, Mob would not. That Tatsumaki would not kill an actual middle schooler over it or even fight one. Like she didn't even attack Saitama when he called her a sassy lost child, which is more like that. All right, Deadpool versus the Mask. Well, I think it's clear why they're fighting. They both know they're on death battle. So that's why they're fighting to the death. So yeah, no, that's what happened. I mean, come on, they're fourth wall breaking characters. Obviously, gonna break the fourth wall here. Now Might Guy versus All Might. I remember this one, and it basically is the situation where they basically spar and then use lethal moves, and quite frankly, they wouldn't because, like, look, Might Guy escalates a spar using a move that would kill him. No, that would not happen. So, Miles Morales versus Static Shock. Let's see, do they give a reason for them to fight? I don't remember this one all that well, so let's see. Oh, they have a misunderstanding. Well, you attacked me. Yeah, no, I think this misunderstanding would get resolved and they wouldn't fight each other. Like, so, yeah, like, probably just end up being an accident, so no, they would not fight. Now, Black Canary versus Sindel. Okay, so this is actually a pretty justified one for the fight. They basically are in the Mortal Kombat tournament. Black Canary meets Sindel in combat, and that's why they're fighting. But would it end in death? I don't know. I think Black Canary is about as reluctant to kill as your average DC hero, if I remember right, though I could be mistaken. So he probably wouldn't kill Sindel. And the thing is, in the Mortal Kombat tournament, you can spare your opponent's life. It's like, that's, in fact, an important part of the early game's plot points, where Scorpion realizes the younger Sub-Zero isn't the same one that he killed because he spared the life of one of his opponents. So, yeah, no, this is one of those situations where they would fight, but I don't think it would end in death. Okay, Leonardo mistakes the Red Ranger mistakes Leonardo for one of Rita's goons, which, quite frankly, I don't, think he'd do since he was just hanging out eating pizza. And especially since Leonardo says who, I don't think Jason would escalate things from there. So I'm just going to go with they would not fight. Now, moving on from this, Genos versus War Machine. And though I find it funny that One Punch Man characters appeared 3 times on Death Battle, and the only time they won was against something else written by One, and the result is probably one that one would agree with, because if I remember right, he basically said that Tatsumaki would beat Mob most of the time, but there's a chance that Mob would win if he goes all out. So now, Genos versus War Machine. Let's see, Warning Self, Destruction of Property Defense, War Man, yeah. Okay, yeah, no, I don't think this would end in combat, like, because, like, War Machine specifically said destruction of property is a serious offense. Generals would probably realize that this is another hero and would explain what's going on. Like, and even if they did fight, I don't think... I do remember that they had Rhodey execution style finish Genos, so even if they did fight, it wouldn't end in death, at least not like that. Grey versus Esdeath, yeah, Esdeath would probably kill whoever she came against, and let's see, is it implied she's invading? Yeah, like, it implies that she's invading, so let's do this one, since, yeah, absolutely, I doubt, Esdeath would not spare most opponents. Now, Goro versus Machamp. We don't know why the Machamp's challenging Goro, so even though this is probably one of the fights I actually like of this show, it is unfortunately they just show up and fight. Okay, Cable versus Booster Gold. Booster Gold basically Cable shows up in Booster Gold and he just walks away and Booster Gold presses and they're fighting. Quite frankly, I think that Booster Gold probably just let Cable leave. Obi-Wan versus Kakashi. Honestly, with the setup, Kakashi crash lands in a training area, and quite frankly, he says he's in Konoha territory. He asks some questions. Quite frankly, I think in this situation, since Obi-Wan doesn't know what Konoha is, he'd probably come along since his ship is wrecked. He doesn't know where he is, and cooperating with the local authorities, which Kakashi clearly is by dialogue and such, and where he's at, would probably only help him in the long run, especially since he is a Jedi. Okay, so Jake Long versus Danny Phantom. Quite frankly, okay, Jake Long and Danny Phantom. Jake Long mistakes Danny for a thief, and I do think they would fight in these instances, but neither of them would go as far as to kill the other. She-Ra versus Wonder Woman. So, let's see. It starts off with them in an arena, where they're apparently fighting, where they're apparently already in a match for some reason, but doesn't really explain why. So, not even as a potential tournament match or arena battle. This isn't enough to explain it, I don't think. So, let's say they just show up and fight here. Let me double check to make sure. Strange. Yeah, no, there's no, let's see, or they're already preparing to fight each other. This isn't like an arena match like Sora versus Pit, so no. Okay, Beerus versus Sailor Galaxia. Yes, this would be to the death, like, Galaxia messed with Beerus' food, and he doesn't really give him any reason to de-escalate, especially with how crazy she is. If she was in the Dragon Ball universe, it would probably be Beerus' job to destroy her if he doesn't make Goku do the job for him, though not sure if Goku could at this point. Okay, so for Zuko versus Todoroki, let's see, Zuko, okay, there's a block of ice with sand nearby trees. Okay, yeah, I think that Todoroki would realize pretty quickly that this is an accident. Like, he wouldn't, or at least so yeah, no, they probably wouldn't fight under these circumstances. Flash versus Sonic. Okay, they fight to the death over Flash stealing one of Sonic's chili dogs. No, I don't even think Archie Sonic would fight him normally over a chili dog, so they would not fight. Alright, the 7 Battle Royale. Okay, this is basically the Vought organizing a Battle Royale to the death among the 7, which, quite frankly, it just wouldn't do. So now there were definitely circumstances in which the 7 would and do fight in the boys, so I'm just going to put it here, they would not fight. Alright, so in this case, Red Hood versus Winter Soldier, yeah, it's definitely implied that Winter Soldier is still under mind control, and goes over to kill Red Hood because of that. So, yeah, one of them, now, I actually have put in one of them might die, because I think there's a good enough chance that Red Hood would escape, or that the injuries would end up not being as fatal as Winter Soldier thought, but I'm leaning more towards the escape. Now let's see. How does the fight between Venom and Chrono start? Let's see. I want to be alone. Let's see. Back where I can pay attention. Okay. Back. Okay. Yeah. Quite frankly, I'm not sure if they would fight or not under these circumstances. Like, Venom isn't just like Venom. From what I understand, he doesn't just go around killing people anymore. Like, he isn't like Carnage. He's sort of more of an anti-hero. Uh, let's see. Let's see. What do they say? What sort of Venom is this? Hmm. Yeah, no. With the Venom as they are now, I quite frankly don't think they fight at all in the circumstances they give, where Fomo just shows up. So now, okay, yeah, no, Sable Wolf versus John Talbane. They quite frankly established why they're fighting. One of them just lost control and started killing people. The other one goes in to stop them, and they're not really in a situation where either of them has an opportunity to run or flee, especially at the end where they're suffering grievous injuries. That we would anyway with the circumstances. So, yeah, I am going to count this as yeah, it would end. It would they fight and it would end in death. So, the red versus blue teams. Okay, this is basically what if the teams locked in and actually fought instead of just doing their normal antics. And it starts out with actually something that could be one of their normal antics. That being said, while they would fight, this would just end as one of their normal antics. Okay, now Spider Girl, Batgirl versus Spider Gwen. Okay, Spider Gwen basically. Let's see if I. Okay, let's see. Please do over his Broly's. Do a thing. I say take to Miles, not this. And we want. Okay, yeah, no. Okay, so she pops into the Bat Cave unknowingly, and doing her technology malfunctions. Quite frankly, I don't think this would result in a fight. More likely to result in them just, you know. Okay, so this one, Sanji insults Rock Lee's cooking. Okay, yeah, no, it's sorry, Rock Lee insults Sanji's cooking. So it's not spicy enough. This would result in a fight, but it wouldn't escalate to the death. No, it wouldn't. Hulk versus Broly. Okay, so they established that Hulk's multiple personalities are being taken into account, and that it seems like it was a very aggressive personality, judging by the dialogue before the fight. So yeah, I think the way it goes with Broly's anger and how Hulk goes, that neither of them would back down when one of them's dead in this case, and due to the personality it is. Broly might even lose control of himself. But now let's see. Okay, Yoda goes into Mickey's died to the heart. And to challenge me, you must. Okay, Mickey's died to the heart. Is that important? You need. Okay, yeah, no, okay. Yeah, no, they aren't saying why Yoda's challenging him, or why Mickey even knows. Like, I did have issuing a challenge before as enough for the fight, but it doesn't establish that this is a challenge. But no, Mickey says that you challenge me, meaning that this is probably a formal challenge, unless there's some Kingdom Hearts lore I'm missing. I'm going to say this is a fight, and I don't think either of them would die. Then again, Yoda is fighting with a lightsaber, so but Yoda would. You know what? I'm just going to count as they would fight, but neither of them would die. I probably don't know enough about Kingdom Hearts. Anyway, Shadow versus Ryuko. Shadow basically, let's see, if I remember right, Shadow cuts Ryuko off in traffic, dismisses it, and then they fight. Let's see. Who cares? Yeah, no, Ryuko would not escalate the battle that far over it, so this is another, they would not fight. Now, Lex Luthor versus Doctor Doom. Okay, yeah, Lex Luthor is there to steal, Doom is there to steal Luthor's tech. And quite frankly, yeah, no, and then Luthor says that he's going to take over Latveria. The only reason why I'm not putting them in, one of them would die, is because I think there's a pretty good chance that whoever loses the fight, but in this case Luthor, would escape. Like, so, yeah, no, Doom would probably kill him, but it also is like he would escape. Now, Mishima Heihachi versus Howard Geese. I do not know enough about these characters, but I do know that, let's see, was the setup... Okay, setup... Let's see... Eve, I'm gonna find... Oh, yeah. these are tournaments, so okay, Mishima wins and kills him by throwing him in lava. But would he kill someone who's fighting him in the final battle of a tournament? Well, honestly, considering how... Yeah, no, knowing Heihachi, he probably would. But that being said, I don't think it's 100% certain. Heihachi might spare him or just injure him or something. So, like, there's a chance he would just straight up survive. So, yeah. Okay, I remember this one. And under the circumstances, those two would not fight. I'm only putting them here. One of them might die because a death isn't a certain thing. Iron Fist versus Poe. Poe challenges Iron Fist to spar, and or Iron Fist challenges him. Don't remember who it was, but they spar and they escalate to using lethal techniques. No, neither. They would fight, but neither of them would die. Steven Universe versus Star Butterfly. Okay, they basically start a fight over a... Let's see. Okay, yeah. He collapses, started Steven, going up, send him back. Steven then attacks him back. Yeah, no, though I don't think they would fight under circumstances, despite the fact that Star committed genocide on a truly unheard of level. Neither of them would die. No, they wouldn't even really fight. So yeah. Link versus Cloud. Okay, I think this is another they just show up and fight. So let's see. Okay, yeah, they just approach and then start fighting. So, yeah, this is another, they just show up and fight. Okay. Let's see. Batman versus Iron Man. So, I have to do this. There. So, this fight, the Avengers are decided to take out the Justice League's Watchtower. Iron Man does it, and Batman fights him. Sure, they would fight, but neither of them would die, quite frankly. Especially not the execution style Iron Man gives Batman. The worst he'd do is probably lock him up somewhere. And for Goku Black versus Reverse Flash, yeah, no, there's no way Goku Black is running from a fight with a mortal. And there's no way Reverse Flash is letting him live as they ever encounter each other. And look, the fight is over basically Goku Black coming in to kill everyone in the area, and Reverse Flash basically kills him for interrupting his day, which he's 100% petty enough to do. Now, Kool-Aid Man versus Macho Man Randy Savage. So here's the thing, and the reason why this is marked as, like, let's see. Okay, so I remember TV Trope saying that it's revealed that they fight to the death on a weekly basis here. But, quite frankly, that is just him saying that he wants a rematch. So I think in the circumstances of it being a wrestling match, they probably would fight, but it would not be to the death. So, unless Kool-Aid Man told him they could bring him back to life with Kool-Aid before, but still. Alright, Dio versus Alucard. Dio's eating someone in a car, Alucard shoots him, and quite frankly, there's only one reason why I'm putting it in. One of them might die rather than one of them would die. The most likely result of a fight between these two is Dio ends up killing Alucard for so long that the sun comes up and Dio has to leave. So yeah, like, that's the only reason why one of them might die. Alright, now let's see. Why do Shao Kahn... Okay, yeah, Akuma comes into... Yeah, if I remember right, Akuma's whole thing is he goes around challenging strong fighters to fights that are often to the death, so... yeah, I think he would go there to challenge and kill Shao Kahn. So, yeah. Now, Korra versus Storm. Okay, let's see how they justify this. Let's see. Korra's bored, powers are impressive, but lack discipline. And Korra basically says, yeah, okay, so... In this case, yeah, Korra basically challenges her to spar, and I don't think either of them would die in this fight. Now, okay, Madara versus Aizen. Now, remember, it's Death Battle's justification here that matters the most. And the only reason why I included Akuma versus Shao Kahn is because I'm pretty sure that's Akuma's whole thing, and that could be just me not being familiar with Street Fighter lore and making a mistake. Let's see, Aizen notes that Madara can seize him and attacks him. Quite frankly, I don't think that'd be enough of a reason for Aizen to attack Madara, so despite this being a villain versus villain. Let's see, are there any other villain versus villain and they would not fight? Uh, no, it's all hero versus hero. But yeah, like I don't think that Madara being able to see Aizen would be enough for Aizen to attack him. Because like I mean, it have to be like Aizen. This whole thing is that he has a lot of plans. So yeah. So yeah, I think this is the first villain versus villain fight, and they would not fight. Now Saitama versus Popeye. Quite frankly, given the setup of Saitama disliking Popeye's spinach, I think there's a pretty good chance that they would fight. Based on this, that being said, I don't think either of them would die. Popeye most of the time takes out people non-lethally, and according to Death Battle's own stats, he'd be able to do that with Saitama. Now, Harley Quinn versus Jinx. Okay, let's see. How does it start? Let's see. Oh yeah, Jinx just... That's quote, so you will murder. Stalker ends up paying Harley's one prize, completely obliterating it. And Jinx is throwing stuff. Okay, quite frankly, I don't think it would escalate to a fight to the death over this. I think it's more likely than not that they would just not fight, which makes this, I think, another villain versus villain fight here, because I don't think escalating to a fight would be enough after if they just blew up one of his prizes by accident. Now, Scarlet Witch versus Zatanna. Okay, quite frankly, the setup for the fight, let's see, let me double check. Okay, there's the attack that Zatanna summons him. Scarlet calls her a 2-bit sorceress. You know, yeah, I could see them fighting over this, but it wouldn't be to the death. Like, they wouldn't escalate it that far. Alright, Scarlet Witch, maybe, but it'd probably just stay minor after she called her 2-bit. Now, okay, Tanjiro versus Jonathan. Okay, so quite frankly, I do think that there might be a... Okay, let's double check why they fight. If I remember right, it's because Jonathan mistakes Nezuko. Okay, yeah, no. First off, I don't think Jonathan would mistake Nezuko for one of Dio's minions. And I think Tanjiro would, right here, explain that Nezuko isn't one of Dio's minions, and say that she has the wrong person. So I think that would stop before it starts, because keep in mind that while Demon Slayer's demons are similar to vampires, and I do think they would be affected by Hamon, they aren't the same thing, and Nezuko is clearly more docile than the average of them. Alright, Thor versus Vegeta. Let's see, I'm not that familiar with this one. Let's see. On Earth, I mean, get it over your face. Yeah, you know, yeah, no, I don't think Thor would throw his hammer at Vegeta a second time after that. Vegeta, let's see, and yeah, so, yeah, like, yeah, and quite frankly, even if it did lead to a fight, I don't think it would end in death. But at the moment, I don't think that this setup would end with a fight. In fact, Thor would probably even warn Vegeta that the hammer is coming back to him. In this case. So, Omni-Man, or he might not throw him at him in the first place. Now, Omni-Man versus Homelander. Oh, yeah, I remember this setup. Homelander basically kills Omni-Man's wife as intimidation, which is in character for him. And then, yeah, no, Omni-Man would 100% kill him after that. This wasn't a fight, it was an assassination of Homelander. Okay, Magneto versus Tetsuo. And, okay, so this is one, it basically starts with Magneto arriving in Japan, and then Tetsuo talking about his turf. And you know what? Yeah, no, I remember how it escalated with Tetsuo losing control of his powers and Magneto being forced to kill him. And I think, yeah, no, this is probably sort of along the lines of how it would happen. Like, they could see him potentially attacking him over that. But yeah, it could potentially end in death there. Now, Hercules is how they say it, so versus Sun Wukong. Let's see, needing that apple, relinquish it. Okay, yeah, quest to get an apple. Okay, so Sun Wukong, in these circumstances, so I do think that they would end up fighting in these circumstances. So let's see. Especially since these seem to be going apples. Is that what? Okay, the dewy fruit, merely strands Wukong's hair. Yeah, I do think it's entirely possible that they would fight, but look, Wukong is far more powerful than Heracles, and I think he'd be able to spare him without killing him. So, like, I don't think Wukong would resort to killing him. So, especially since Wukong isn't supposed to kill humans, and Heracles is close enough. Alright, now, Boba Fett versus a Yautja. So, the Boba Fett basically goes around and the Predator decides to hunt him. And this is one of the few times where they just show up and fight is completely legitimate. Because the Predator does just hunt random strong people, and yeah, no, Boba Fett would be a target there. Like, so, yeah, this would, honestly, I could see this being a villain support call, where the villain support guys are like, we put Boba Fett on the list of people you're not supposed to fight. Now, hold on, Raiden versus Excalibur. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Probably the most hated bonus episode. Let's see, or maybe not, I don't know. Okay, so let's see this one. Death Battle, okay, Doctor, you seen this? Foundry is creating a war credit for Excalibur. Let's see it. Let's see. Excalibur versus Raiden opposes the Foundry at an. Okay, so apparently okay, so from what I'm gathering of this, Excalibur was specifically sent to kill Raiden. Let's see that. Enemies. Oh no wait. He was sent after the Foundry, and they mistook him for an enemy. In which case, honestly, yeah, I think that's justification enough, especially considering how powerful these are and how unlikely they are to spare an opponent. Now, James Bond versus John Wick. Okay, well, Bond is sent by the Secret Service to kill Wick. So, yeah, no, Bond absolutely would kill Wick in these circumstances. And also, it makes perfect sense for them to go after Wick if, like, MI6 wants to take out the Assassins Guild Wick works for. Taking out their best assassin would be a great way to start, and sending in their first agent to do it would be part of it. That being said, Bond basically, it seems that by their dialogue, Bond has orders to take Wick in, dead or alive. And then Wick comes in back and keeps fighting. Well, Wick chooses to fight back, which I think he would. So in this case, yeah, no, perfectly justified. Alright, Black Adam versus Apocalypse. So, what happens here? Let's see, Death Battle, okay, that's, oh yeah, no, the Apocalypse is invading, Black Adam fights him. Yeah, no, this is one that is, fully justified here. So, yeah, no, agree. That this would totally happen and probably would end in one of them killing the other. Oh, wow. Alright, Trunks versus Silver. I'm honestly kind of surprised how many hero versus hero battles are and one of them would die. So let's see. Okay, use Metropolitan City. I'll be on a risk against time travel. Okay, yeah, under these circumstances, I do think the two would fight, but it wouldn't end in death. Any of them would try to do that. So yeah, they would fight, but it wouldn't end in death. Now, SpongeBob versus Aquaman. So yeah, the two fight, and quite frankly, I don't think SpongeBob was intending to kill Aquaman at the end. He was just so much more powerful that ended up happening. Though he did also throw the pencil with the eraser at him. I don't think SpongeBob would ever try to kill him, but an accident is entirely possible with the sheer disparity in power, so I'll put it in one of them might die. Okay, with Jason Voorhees versus Michael Myers, I don't even really need to justify it. Both of them will kill just about most of the people they meet, so yeah, this is probably how they probably have killing each other. Okay, I remember Sauron versus Lich King well. Oh, yeah, basically is the Sauron invading the Lich King's realm, which, yeah, he 100% would do and would try to kill the Lich King, so yeah. Now, Deku versus Asta, okay. Okay. The only reason, so, they would fight because it's established they're in a tournament. And one of them would die because it's no. Okay, I'm going to say neither of them would die because while Deku is dead when Asta's weapons reach him, he wouldn't go as far as overusing his powers to the point of death in a tournament. Now, Gogeta versus Vegito. Oh, and also Asta wouldn't kill an opponent in a tournament. So, Gogeta versus Vegito. Well, I mean, Death Battle did wish on the Dragon Balls for them to fight to the death, like Boomstick did. But here's the thing. There's a catch to this. Shenron grants them their wish. Shenron would not be powerful enough to compel them to fight to the death. Fight, sure, but not to the death. Well, we wouldn't compel them to fight. I think they would probably come out of curiosity, and then they would agree to fight, but it wouldn't be to the death. Ant-Man versus Adam. Okay, I know that Ant-Man's an ass, but over Adam just showing up in his lab, he wouldn't escalate it to a fight. Now, Skyrim versus Dark Souls. Okay, in this case, they're both being manipulated. One is told to seek the fire, the other is told to put it out. So, yeah, no, this justified. Killua versus Mikasa. Okay, Killua gets something of Misaka, not Mikasa, of Mikasa's, and Mikasa wants it back, and they fight. Okay, I could see them potentially fighting over this, but it wouldn't be to the death. No, it wouldn't. Now, Stitch versus Rocket Raccoon. Let's see, how does this start? Let's see. Saturn, Rose Hawaii, smash my ship, Facklark. Sid bares his teeth. Let's see. Okay, yeah, from what I remember of Stitch, I don't think this would end in a fight. Like, Stitch end up, let's see. Stitch comes out of a volcano, smashes the ship. I don't think Stitch would quite escalate into a fight. And that being said, even if he did, I don't think he'd kill Rocket over something that Stitch himself started. So, Darth Vader versus Obito Uchiha. Anyway, let's see. Darth Vader comes in, says he will take the powers, kill him. You know what? Yeah, one of them would definitely kill the other under these circumstances. So, now moving on from this, Darth Vader basically comes in to just take his power, so yeah. Now, Phoenix versus Raven. Death Battle, let's see. Of Azeroth, the Ashes, the two storms. Okay, yeah, Phoenix comes in to destroy it for the good of the universe. I don't know enough about Phoenix Force to know for sure. I don't know enough about the Phoenix Force to know for sure if she would compel her to do that or would do that, so I'll put it in one of them might die just to be safe. Now, moving on to Guts versus Dimitri. Okay, so it basically starts with them already fighting, but it's implied that the ghosts of the dead, let's see, 200 men strong, what drives your slaughter? Yeah, it's implied that the ghosts of the dead, in the fight, the dead must have their revenge, are getting Dimitri to try to kill Guts. Which, considering how this is deranged Dimitri, I think he would, or he'd die trying. Alright, Martian Manhunter versus Silver Surfer. Okay, in this fight, they're being compelled by an unknown force and told with absolute fate that one of them has to die and the other will live. So yeah, let's put it at that. Yeah, I think, and this is basically straight up mind control, in this case, Death Battle making them fight, so yeah, I'm going to say yes, they would fight to the death. Now, Bill Cipher versus Discord. Well, Bill Cipher invaded Equestria, and Discord came in to stop him, and I don't think Bill would spare Discord, and he'd kind of have to under the circumstances. Cole McGrath versus Alex Mercer. Okay, now, going into the battle itself, let's see. Oh yeah, this is Villainous versus, so yeah, decides to consume him, so yeah, no, this is something that I do think would end in one of them killing the others, especially given how these games tend to go, so yeah. Now, Frieza versus Megatron. Oh, I remember this. Yeah, Frieza basically attacks Megatron, attacks Cybertron, and then he and Megatron fight to the death. And quite frankly, yeah, Frieza is way too stubborn to just give up so easily, and thus he's killed. At least most of the time he is. And Megatron, and he does win, so not much of an issue. But Megatron, he isn't going to let Cybertron die, even at his evilest. So, yeah, no, neither of them is backing down. Now, for Gojo versus Makima, Gojo is deliberately sent to kill Makimas, and no, I don't think Makima would be willing to run. Gojo wouldn't either, so there. Now, Scooby-Doo versus Courage the Cowardly Dog. So, in Death Battle circumstances, as Death Battle depicted it, yeah, they would fight, and neither of them would die, which is how Death Battle depicts it, so we're good. Now, Rick Sanchez versus the Doctor. And okay, this is actually a great one. So, Rick Sanchez does something incredibly... So, basically, Morty rear ends the TARDIS. The Doctor tries to let it go, and Rick Sanchez attacks the Doctor over it, which escalates it to the fight to the death, where the Doctor doesn't even try to kill Rick. He basically just tricks him and uses the DMAC gun only as a last resort when he realizes it's the only way. And quite frankly, doing something incredibly petty like this is 100% in character for Rick, so I'm putting it in one of them would die. So now Goku versus Superman 3. Like I said, for 1 and 2, it's going to be in the same category if they do not fight. Because, like I said, this is in continuity. Is it in continuity? Let me check. Okay, yeah, no, this is like... Yeah, I think this is in continuity, and even if it isn't, this is clearly... Okay, yeah, even if it isn't, this is one of these, though, they show up and fight things, so it's actually better and they would not fight. Anyway... okay, Galactus versus Unicron. Okay, they basically start with them fighting over the Earth. Okay. Earth and destroying it. And so, okay, so, let's see. Okay, yeah, like, I don't think they let each other live. So, let's see. Yeah, no, I don't. I think it would definitely, a fight between Galactus and Unicron would definitely end with one of them dead. So this one, now, Omni-Man versus Bardock. So this is one where, let's see, how does it start? Bardock is sent to attack Thraxia, and then Barnyard, okay. Yeah, no, they would definitely fight if Bardock was sent to conquer a planet Omni-Man was on, and the chances of letting the other live are basically 0, or them backing down are 0 too. Okay, Joker versus Giorno. Okay, so, let's see, do they try, okay. Okay, loading, okay, I don't think they have to justify this. Because, like, Joker basically goes in, this would technically be they show up and fight, and Joker basically goes into the Giorno's palace to try to destroy his desires. If Giorno's desires became distorted and Joker was in the area, he'd definitely try to resolve it. That being said, Joker wouldn't end up killing him over it. Now, Bowser versus Eggman. So, this is one where I actually think it's another one where it's one of them would die. And let me explain why. So, basically, Eggman attacks Bowser, which puts it in the they would fight category. Now, as to why one of them doesn't just escape, I mean, the way Death Battle escalates things, they establish that, no, neither of them are escaping this. Or at least that Eggman has an opportunity to escape, but Bowser doesn't let it. Or wait, Eggman destroys his own vehicle, and then, yeah, Bowser Jr. destroys it, keeping him from escaping, which prevents them escaping it as Death Battle depicts it from coming in. Okay. Okay, good. Now, Among Us versus Fall Guys. Would the Fall Guys kill... I don't know. Okay, kill the imposters. Okay, yeah, that's the main question, because the imposters kill the crewmates, and then the last fall guy kills the imposter. I think it's like a game show, so they probably end up having to eventually just out self-defense, but this is as Death Vow depicts it, so... But then again, if the imposters are there, they definitely try to... Yeah, so, yeah, one of them would 100% die in this situation. Now, Kratos versus Ashura. Okay, so... No, this is... Let's see, Gaia, but... Yeah, no, the Ashura... Okay, some soldiers attack Kratos. Quite frankly, you do not want this fight. Yeah, I don't think Ashura would attack Kratos in these circumstances. Just seeing him there, Kratos would probably go, "You do not want this fight." And Ashura would go, "Yeah, I don't." And then probably just send him back home. Now, Ghost Rider versus Spawn. Let's see. Okay, Ben is saying, go back to it. You're squirmed. Hell spawns as Ghost Rider and make me. Okay. Yeah, I could see them fighting if. You know what? If Ghost Rider mistakes Spawn for an evil being, then yeah, I could see them fighting it this much. So yeah, I'm not going to say they wouldn't. Now, next up, Shigaraki versus Mahito. So, Shigaraki, he tries to recruit Mahito, and Mahito keeps fighting him before escalating the fight to the point where Shigaraki decides to just kill him. And Mahito does try to escape, but Shigaraki doesn't let him. Now, moving on to the next episode is Master Chief versus Doomslayer. And this is another... They would not fight. Doomslayer... Look... Doomslayer is the aggressor in this fight, and quite frankly, the only people he kills are demons. He doesn't even kill evil humans, and Master Chief certainly isn't evil, so they just wouldn't fight. Now, Simon the Digger versus Kyle Rayner. Quite frankly, the way they have it... Okay. Okay, the main reason why I'm... Okay, so they would fight because, Kyle Rayner was sent to bring Simone in, and I'm going to put it in one of them might die, because I think Simone would probably might be able to take out Kyle non-lethally, but it also might end up potentially ending in death, just because of how determined and how much willpower and unlikely to give up they are. So, that's my reasoning there. Now, Wile E. Coyote versus Tomcat. Okay, the way they established it, with Wile E. coming in, basically messing up one of Tom's hunts, and Tom getting mad over it, they would fight. But would Wile E. resort to pulling out the Looney DNA dissolver? Well, quite frankly, thinking on it, I think he would, but I think there's one specific moment in the fight, the one where they're both at the top of it. And where they're both in the air, and Wile E's sort of seen that coming. If Tom just nodded there or agreed to it, which he might have, but then Wile E would probably just end the fight there. They both just crash down to the ground and walk away. But Tom attacked, which also is in character for him. So since both options are in character, I'll put in one of them might die. Didn't think I'd do it for a Looney Tunes fight, but yeah. Alright, now, Deku versus Spider-Man, and this, funnily enough, is going to go in, yeah, he would die. Alright, so, and I'm going to say this because they basically are sparring, and then Deku overestimates the power his punches puts out, which causes an accidental death. So, yeah, I'm fine with it. Now, for Hulk versus Godzilla and Bruce Banner winning, this is another one where, yeah, one of them would die from this. In this case, Godzilla's attacking a city, Hulk comes in to stop him. Godzilla isn't human, so I'm not sure if Banner would have too many problems killing him, given the chance. And Banner would, and once again, as they depicted it, Godzilla just keeps being regenerated from Ultima, which means that killing him would be the only way. Now, Maka versus Ruby. This is another fight where, yeah, I think they get it correctly. Or at least they did a good enough job setting it up, I mean. So, basically, it sets up with Soul and Maka being sent to target Ruby. and even calling her Little Red Riding Hood, which implies humanity is strayed. They end up fighting, and quite frankly, I think that what ends up escalating it into certain death is when Ruby's eyes escalate, which basically forces Maka to kill her, and it's implied at the end that Maka is going to bring her back, but it basically does force Maka to kill her at that point. At least as the fight depicts it, whereas before, I think that Maka might have ended the fight non-lethally after Ruby said her actual name. Now, Blade versus Buffy. This is a fight where they do a really good job of setting it up. That being said, I'm going to put it in they would not fight. And there's a reason for it. So basically, a girl gets turned into a vampire, Blade kills her, and Buffy, and this is said to be a misunderstanding between universes, because there is a timing delay between turning into a vampire and someone in it can be saved in Buffy, but not in Marvel. That being said, there are good vampires in Marvel, and Blade has worked with some of them before. Now, even Dracula isn't really doing anything evil anymore in Marvel, so I don't think Blade would kill some random girl who just got turned into a vampire. So, yeah, I think that this, despite the job they did at setting things up, is in the they would not fight category, because Blade simply would at least try to give her some, to keep her from being destroyed there. Anyway, let's see, this is Dante versus Clive. And at the start of the fight, I think it's made quite apparent that some of Clive's enemies have convinced him that have hired Dante to kill Clive, maybe even convincing him that Clive's a demon. Let's see, Clive does seem to recognize it as a demon, but Clive's mostly just defending himself. And quite frankly, yeah, I think this would most likely end in death, since Dante isn't giving Clive any reason to spare him, and Clive isn't giving Dante any reason to do so either, or to de-escalate things. Like, in fact, his line about a god to kill might even, like, cause that. So now, Ash versus Yugi. Okay, so this is one of the things where so basically, even if we give Yugi the summoning of real monsters, there's no way him and Ash would fight to the actual death like they show. So, and it isn't really an accidental. They're both using force enough to kill each other, or at least turn Ash to stone in this case. So this is one where they would fight as a match, but neither of them would die. And now for one where Ichigo versus Yusuke. This is one where they just wouldn't fight. Because, like, the fight basically starts, and let me double check to my homework here. Let's see, Demon Hollow. No, they just recognizing someone as a demon or having demonic power, being a hollow. Throughout their stories, this wouldn't be enough of a reason for them to fight. Right, yeah, so, fine with it. Now, Cell versus Metal Sonic, next to last. This is another one where they absolutely would fight to the death. Cell comes in to challenge Robotnik's strongest warrior, which is in character for him. Like, it is 100% in character for Cell to do this. So, and Metal Sonic shows up. Now, Metal Sonic it's implied because Cell's arena is nearby, that Metal Sonic was already on his way to fight Cell. Which means that either Metal Sonic was and it's implied also that Metal Sonic was impersonating Robotnik. So either Eggman sent Metal Sonic out to stop Cell, which is in character for him since he doesn't want the world to be destroyed, because if the world's destroyed, how can he rule over it? Or Metal Sonic did this on his own, and Metal Sonic, I mean, come on, he wants to surpass Sonic, can't do that if there's no world. Yeah, and Metal Sonic wouldn't really be interested in sparing Cell at this point, since this is post-Cell games, and I doubt he would anyway, and there's no way Cell is sparing one of his opponents. So yeah, this goes in, one of them would die. And finally, for Bakugo versus Reze, the most recent death battle as of this video's release. And the thing is, this is going in, one of them would die. So, Reze was sent by the Russian government to kill Bakugo. Why the Russian government wants to kill Bakugo is irrelevant. The fact is, they do have the power to send Reze to kill him. And I say them because they're the people she works for, and that's good enough motive for getting Reze to try to kill Bakugo. Now, Bakugo killing Reze, on the other hand, well, that actually, I think, has to do with the... Let's see, oh yeah, that has to do with the escalation of the fight. So, Bakugo at first isn't trying to kill Reze, at least it's implied there. But then, after Reze establishes just how durable she is, capable of taking a blow to the head, how her explosions mean that keeping her in jail would be very difficult, and having her kill random civilians, at that point, Bakugo decides that she has to die. So there you have it. The category, like all the death battles up to this point, one of them would actually die, would basically be, it has the highest category by a good margin. They would not fight at all is the second highest. And neither of them would die, and they just show up and fight, are in a tie for third, with fourth place being one of them might die, but it's not certain. To be honest, I'm surprised they did a good job as they did as justifying why these characters are fighting. I am nothing if not thorough. So, when I recorded this video, Bakugo vs. Reze was the latest death battle. However, 2 more death battles were released since then. So, I'm going to finish up the edit, make a quick section here depicting whether or not, where these would fit in the tier list without actually, putting them on it. So, first off, Gru vs. Megamind. This fight goes into top tier of they would fight, and it would be to the death, as Death Battle depicted it. Or rather, it would end in death. Because here's the thing, as they depict it, the fight is basically a misunderstanding where Gru thinks Megamind is still evil when he isn't, and Gru does not intend to kill Megamind. It's an accidental death. So, because of that, well, it gets top tier. Next up, Yuji vs. Denji. So here's the thing. This fight would not end in death, and they wouldn't fight. This goes in the tier of they would not fight. So basically, at the start of the fight, Denji clearly does not intend to hurt people as Yuji saw him, and Yuji wouldn't be so quick to rush to combat even if someone had curse energy. So Yuji probably would ask him what's going on and would try to feel out the situation and would realize that Denji isn't really a threat, so there you have it. Thank you for watching, everyone, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe.